Welcome to Design with Impact, the podcast for interior designers who want to create beautiful, healthy spaces with intention and purpose. I'm Alex, interior designer, mom, entrepreneur, and educator, and I am truly passionate about sustainability. After seeing the amount of waste our industry creates and learning how everyday materials can impact our health, I completely changed the way I approach design. And now I want to help more designers do the same. Each week, through solo episodes and conversations with industry experts, we'll explore sustainable materials, healthier homes, and circular design, along with practical strategies to reduce waste, grow a sustainable business, and market your work with intention, so you can create real impact without sacrificing aesthetics or profitability. Because sustainability isn't optional, it's the future of design. Welcome to the Design with Impact podcast. I'm your host, Alex Shields, and today we're going to be speaking with Ona Vilarmau from IMD Cabinets. IMD designs and manufactures custom luxury kitchens and cabinetry, as well as indoor and outdoor furniture, all made entirely from aluminum. Their cabinetry is 100% non-toxic, formaldehyde-free, and VOC-free. Hi, Ona. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, can you give us a bit of a background on your company and what led you guys to specialize in aluminum kitchens and cabinetry?
Yeah, for sure. So at IMD Cabinets, we design and manufacture custom aluminum kitchens and cabinetry, indoor and outdoor furniture that are 100% non-toxic. And this all started with my dad. He's actually been in the aluminum industry since he was 16 years old. He started building aluminum windows and then later on went on to aluminum profile design and sales before starting up his own company manufacturing aluminum windows. And then in 2008, we moved to Canada. My mom is Canadian. And while he was waiting for his permanent residency, he created the profiles that we use today to build our kitchens. Essentially, pretty much what happened is he was just done with building windows and he wanted to try something new. He saw a gap in the market and he was like, oh, well, why not? And he created aluminum kitchens.
That is very cool because aluminum isn't the first material that you think of when you think
It's
of
not.
kitchens. You're thinking about wood. So,
Exactly.
what drew your dad to this material in terms of creating kitchens, and then what makes it different from traditional cabinetry?
Yeah, well, I would say really what happened is that my dad had never really worked with any other material. He had always worked with aluminum, and then because of that, he knew all of the benefits coming from aluminum, especially the durability. And considering that kitchens are like the highest traffic area in a home, it just kind of made sense to make aluminum cabinetry. I'd say the main difference, apart from the obvious fact, which is the material, we're talking about wood and aluminum, is the difference in how it degrades over time. Aluminum performs extremely well over time.
Okay. So then when we think about conventional cabinetry, what are some of the hidden materials or chemicals that homeowners or designers may not be aware of?
Yeah, I think lots of people don't realize that most cabinets aren't solid wood and that they're typically MDF or plywood or particle board, all of which are bound together using adhesives. And these adhesives have formaldehyde and other volatile organic compounds, also known as VOCs. We typically hear it as VOC. And then on top of that, you have to add finishes and sometimes there's laminates and sealants. So that is also an additional amount of chemicals. We always say that typical cabinet that you see is a cocktail of chemicals. And even though these layers aren't always visible because they're really not, and if we don't know about them, we think that it's fine, but they play a really big role in what we bring into our homes.
So you emphasize that your cabinetry is 100% non-toxic. So what does that mean?
So all of our cabinets are built 100% out of aluminum, and aluminum is naturally non-toxic. And then all of the aluminum that we use is powder coated. And powder coating is a type of coating that is applied as a free-flowing dry powder. So it doesn't require solvents to keep the binder and the filler apart like a conventional liquid paint needs. And then our cabinets are built using our own system based on extruded aluminum profiles that are clipped together. So it's kind of like Lego, just a tad stronger. And this exclusive clip system combined with the powder-coated finish allows us to manufacture our cabinets without using any glues or adhesives or any other toxic content such as paints or varnishes.
That is so cool. So they kind of just, I don't know, snap together or?
Yeah, they snap
Okay.
together.
That's amazing. So indoor air quality is really becoming a bigger conversation in design, and how the materials that we're bringing into our home affect the air we breathe. So how do kitchen materials specifically impact our air quality?
Yeah, so kitchens, I would like to say, are the most material dense spaces in our home because you don't only have the cabinetry, but you have to add the countertops, the different finishes, and all of these can emit harmful chemicals into our home. And over time, these chemicals build up and they affect directly the air that we are breathing. So we always like to say the materials we choose can either support a healthier environment or can quickly work against it, sadly. Yeah.
And the kitchen is really the heart of the home,
It
and
is.
that's where everybody gathers, and this is where we make the food that we eat. And
Exactly.
so for me, I'm often, when we look at a design project and a client's budget and where we want to really spend the money on the healthy materials, it's looking at the biggest surface areas. So floors, walls, and kitchen, because
Exactly.
that's a huge part of your home.
Yeah.
So for designers who want to create healthier kitchens, what would you say are the biggest red flags in terms of materials that they should be looking out for?
I think the biggest red flag are engineered wood products like MDF, just because they have lots of added formaldehydes, anything that has high VOC finishes, anything that is heavily laminated. I think what I would say to any designers is to get transparency from your manufacturers. Really know what are in those layers, right? And then also to be very wary of companies that claim to be green, that claim to be eco-friendly, because there is a big difference between low VOC and VOC-free. And I say this and I put an emphasis on this because we get lots of clients that come to us after installing a brand new beautiful kitchen into their home, but they just can't live in their home because it's just too much for them. It's too toxic for them. So one thing is being VOC free and the other one is being low VOC. And that's just pretty much like really understand because one thing is being under the regulated maximum and then one thing is being completely free. And I feel like lots of people don't realize that there is such a big difference. So I think that would be my biggest red flag. And as a tip to avoid that is to get just full transparency from your manufacturers. Yeah.
And so you and I were having a conversation before we hit record,
Yeah,
and you were
exactly.
telling me about a client with chemical sensitivities.
Yes.
And do you want to share that story?
Sure.
So they just bought a kitchen.
They just bought a kitchen, but she can't live in her home because the kitchen is too toxic for her.
Wow.
And some people don't even realize that they have this problem until they move into a home and they're like, uh-oh, I can't live here. Like, what's happening? So,
And to be clear, this wasn't an IMD kitchen that they bought. This was a wood kitchen or an MDF kitchen.
Yes,
Okay.
it was an MDF kitchen. And she contacted us after buying the kitchen, and she said, look, I have this problem. I bought a kitchen and I can't live in my home because I just can't tolerate the chemicals in my kitchen. So we had to adapt because obviously her initial budget wasn't ideal because she had just bought a new kitchen. But yeah, it goes to show that you really have to know what you're putting into your homes because otherwise you can find yourself in the same situation and have to move out for a couple months or have to rip out a full, beautiful new kitchen that you just installed. So yeah.
And the other thing about new materials too is that they off-gas a lot more at the beginning if you're looking at an MDF or, et cetera. And so sometimes when you first renovate, there's a lot more VOCs, there's a lot more chemicals in the air. And it can, lower over time, but I know that MDF kitchens can literally off gas for decades.
For decades.
There's formaldehyde
Exactly.
and
Like I was saying
yeah,
before, this builds up. So
yeah,
it's not only the kitchen, it's like you said, the paint on your walls, it's the flooring, everything builds up, and these
yeah,
chemicals just are just affecting your air quality just constantly. So yeah,
yeah.
and people who don't have medical sorry, who don't have MCS, sorry, they don't realize that this is so important, but it's as important for people who don't have a health problem than it is for people who do have health problems, because we can
Mm.
prevent health problems by putting stuff into our home that are not toxic. Hmm.
And again, there's people who are more chemically sensitive than others,
Of
but there's
course.
also children or pets who
Hmm.
could be more vulnerable or more susceptible to,
Exactly.
to having a health issue because of the VOCs in the air or other chemicals.
Yeah.
So, um, okay, so that's air quality, and then back to you talked about durability.
Hmm.
So one of the biggest sustainability conversations is around longevity. So, how does aluminum perform over time compared to a more traditional kitchen, MDF, or wood?
Yeah. So longevity is where aluminum really stands out. MDF and like similar materials can swell, can warp, can crack, and just degrade over time, especially in humid environments. And aluminum doesn't swell, it doesn't warp because it is resistant to moisture. And just in general, it maintains a structural integrity for decades. And it doesn't fade, the colors don't fade.
Mm.
And that's when we talk about durability, because durability for us means fewer replacements, which means less waste, which is a huge part of sustainability. Hmm.
For sure. And I think so you guys also do outdoor kitchens,
Yes,
which is amazing. So obviously, can hold up to the outdoor temperatures. But I see this as a really great option for bathrooms, bathrooms as
exactly.
well. There's
Yes.
kitchens, there's water in kitchens, there's water in
Yeah.
bathrooms.
Yeah. Laundry rooms.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so love that. So then, okay, so we kind of talked about moisture, everyday wear and tear. So how does aluminum compare when we talk about life cycle or recyclability? You mentioned recyclability a little bit
Yeah.
and the overall environmental impact. I think also your cabinets contain recycled materials.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do.
Okay.
So actually, our aluminum profiles are made with 25% recycled aluminum. And fun fact is that aluminum is the most recyclable material available. And 75% of aluminum ever produced is still in its natural form today.
Oh,
So
cool.
aluminum can be recycled like lots of times, just over and over without losing its properties, which is also really cool. And it is inexpensive to recycle. Um, it's true that while in the initial production of aluminum, it's very energy intensive, the durability and the lifespan, combined with how recyclable it is, really does balance that out over time. So when you factor in durability, fewer replacements, like I said before, it's just an ideal sustainable choice.
So can you walk us through your manufacturing process and how your manufacturing can support sustainability as well as quality?
Yeah. So our manufacturing process starts with 6 by 5 meter lengths, profile lengths, which are the extruded profiles that are 25% made from 25% recycled aluminum, with 3 by 1.25 meter sheets of aluminum. And so all of this raw material is then powder coated into your client's color of choice and then brought back to the warehouse. And then it is cut and drilled into the cabinet components. Then we build the cabinet bases, drawers, doors, shelves. And while that is done, there's a big quality check. We also pre-install our kitchens, well, your kitchens, in our warehouse just to make sure that everything works flawlessly and, of course, looks great before delivery. And then, for example, our kitchens are pretty straightforward for installation, but since everything is custom built, if there is a special corner or something that is built uniquely for your client, while we are pre-installing it in our warehouse, there is a tutorial made uniquely for your client's project.
Okay.
And then
Oh, that's
from a
so cool.
sustainability standpoint, since we optimize our materials, any cutoffs are minimal. And any of the cutoffs that are left out, the small ones, they fit into a small bin at the end of manufacturing and are always recycled. And then any of the larger cutoffs, sheets, or even the lengths are used for future projects. So nothing is gone to waste when we're done on manufacturing. Yeah.
Okay. Love it. So then let's talk about aesthetics too, because
Mm-hmm.
metal, when I first heard of aluminum cabinets, I was like, eesh, I don't know. That sounds a little bit cold. There is a
Yeah.
perception that metal can be cold, can be industrial, but then you look at it and you see the pictures on your website, and it's actually quite beautiful. So, how are you guys redefining the aesthetic of aluminum cabinetry?
It's funny you asked that because I have to say that is probably our most frequently asked question. Every time we get on a call with someone, it's like, well, is it gonna feel like cold? Is it gonna look like that filing cabinet, like in
Mm.
our office or the lockers in our gym? And the answer is no, and that's because our our aluminum is powder coated, so that gives us the options to give something minimal, something modern, or if you're looking for a more traditional feel, that's also possible. So I think really how we're redefining it is kind of just how you design it, because like you said, it's very industrial in people's eyes, but because it's just raw aluminum. So with our powder coated finishes, we can find the warmth and depth that the client wants. Yeah.
So you guys actually have on your website, there's a kitchen that is actually, I'm not sure if I saw it on your website or on your Instagram, but it's this like forest green color.
Yeah.
And so originally I was thinking, oh, these might not be a great option for like a country home or, something. And then I saw this really beautiful forest green kitchen, and I feel like there are other wood elements elsewhere.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I saw it a long time ago, so I can't remember, but I feel like it's beautiful and it works, and it could be for a beautiful country home. So I think it's, again, like you said, I think it's really about how it's designed and the
Exactly.
colors that you choose and sort
Yeah.
of the whole aesthetic and how everything comes together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
love that. So what kind of customization is possible? You also have a wood look finish. You can
Yes.
do a sintered stone door.
Hmm.
So tell us about the customizations and how designers can integrate into different styles of homes.
Yeah. So, apart from the fact that everything is custom built to the millimeter, but that's the boring part. The fun part is choosing all the colors. So you can choose from countless designer colors, any from our REL chart, our Futura collection. And then, like you're saying, if you're looking for a more traditional feel, we offer textured wood grain finishes. So that's very beautiful, and you can't even tell that it's aluminum. It's really, and the texture itself is like wood when you touch it. So it's very, very cool. And then, for example, if you're looking for a specific color, a really, really cool thing about powder coating is that you can send us a sample and we can get an exact color match made. Even though there are countless colors, if you were a designer and you have a specific color in mind that is not on our REL chart or on our Futura collection, so everyone knows that we can make that happen. And then, like you said, we also offer sintered stone doors with or without an aluminum frame. So the aluminum frame, pretty much what happens is the sintered stone is just a little bit thinner, and it just slides in as if it was our aluminum sheet. And then we also offer like full on sintered stone doors. So it's like a slab of sintered stone, and that we can make that now because there are new hinges, so new hardware that allow us to do that. So it's a really beautiful, timeless look, and it's also very durable. So it's great. And then last but not least, we offer custom etched doors. So if you're looking for symmetrical lines, or if your client, if it's like a commercial kitchen or a commercial cabinetry, they can even get engraved their own logo before being
cool.
powder coated. So we always like to say with IMD Cabinets, the possibilities are endless, especially when it comes to customization. Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, for interior designers who are curious but new to specifying alternative materials like aluminum, where would you suggest they start?
I'd say to start by really understanding the material, what its benefits are, where it offers the most value. It's really important to feel confident in that knowledge because your clients don't know what the materials are. And it's really important to clearly communicate it to them. Like you said, until quite recently, most people didn't even realize there was any viable alternative materials to wood or MDF. So there's definitely an educational piece to it. And it also helps to start with the right type of clients. So clients who are already focused on wellness and sustainability, clients who are open-minded and are willing to explore new materials. I would say that, yeah.
Okay, so when do you think aluminum kitchens make the most sense? Like in what types of projects? You kind of mentioned clients, but
Mhm.
where would you say they make the most sense?
For me, they make the most sense for everybody. No, I'm just kidding. No, but they're ideal for clients who prioritize durability, low maintenance, that are health conscious. But I would say for projects itself, outdoor projects, it's a win-win. Projects for clients who have MCS and who really need something 100% not toxic.
Sorry, for
For
those who are for those who are listening who don't know what MCS is.
multi-chemical sensitivity. So those who are
Okay.
sensitive to chemicals.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And then
Thank
I
you.
was saying coastal homes. So just high humid environments, they're also ideal. So, and then I would also maybe say projects that are looking for like a modern architectural kind of vibe, but also need like durability and performance to be key factors. Yeah.
I was thinking too, rental properties because
Yes, 100%.
people are investing in rental properties and the people who live there may not necessarily take care of the
Exactly.
space the way that you would. And when you introduce something like an aluminum cabinet,
hmm
it's a lot more durable and then you won't need to replace it as much over
Yes,
time. So
exactly.
that's sort
And
of what I had
also,
in
for
mind as well.
example, like a cabin,
Mm,
especially in Canada, for example, where it's freezing in the winter,
mm,
and then very humid in the summer. Like I said before, aluminum is resistant to the most extreme temperature changes, so it's also ideal for those types of things, and that they're worry-free. Aluminum cabinets are worry-free. If your pipe
mm.
bursts under the sink, for example, and you're not there because, like you're saying, it's a holiday home or a rental home, there's no worries because you're just gonna have to go there, wipe it up, and everything is gonna look as good as new. So that's
Mhm.
also a really cool thing about aluminum cabinetry
Mhm.
is the
Amazing.
worry-free part. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then where do you see the future of kitchen design when it comes to materials and health?
I think right now we are in a growing like decade right now where people are starting to really understand what they're putting into their homes or being a little bit more aware of it. So I do think that we'll continue to see a shift towards healthier, more transparent options. But like I said before, it's we really have to be there to educate these people because they don't know that these materials are out there. But yeah,
Mm.
I really do see a growing demand towards high performing materials and 100% non toxic materials.
Yeah, definitely. So do
Yeah.
I. So then if designers listening today could make one change to create a healthier kitchen, where would you say they should start?
I think they should start on focusing on eliminating high emission materials. So, for example, in cabinetry, cabinets are not only for kitchens, but they're also vanities. They're also closets, and they take up a large portion of our spaces in our homes. So, choosing materials that are low VOC, and if they're VOC free, even better is a good place to start. And they'll also see a significant difference in the air quality. Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question. What is one common misconception about aluminum cabinetry that you would love to change?
I think I'd have to choose that aluminum is purely industrial and is limited in design when in reality, aluminum is super versatile and it's one of the most adaptable materials out there. It just hasn't been explored as widely in residential design yet. So once people see what's possible, I hope and I know that people who do already know that the perception changes quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love it. So thank you, Ona, so much for joining us. I had
Thank
such a great time
you.
chatting with you.
Yes.
Before we go, if our listeners are interested in connecting with you, where can they find you?
They can find us on our website, so imdcabinets.com, or they can directly email me at Ona, O-N-A, at imdcabinets.com, as well as our Instagram, which is imdcabinets.com.
All right. Amazing. I will add all of that in the show notes. And
Perfect.
thank you again for joining us. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to follow the podcast, share this episode with another designer so we can make an even bigger impact, and leave a review so more designers can find this podcast and we can continue to grow this community. Also, I challenge you to take one sustainable practice from this episode and incorporate it in your business or your next project. And I want to know what it is. Send me a DM over on Instagram at designwithimpact_. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for being here.